Pleasure to have you here this evening. My name's Alec Wright. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer here at GSVlabs. And it's really great to have our third Pioneer Pitch Night as we get into this, I call it a habit, a wonderful habit of bringing together amazing founders every single month here at GSVlabs to showcase the work they're doing. And we're excited to watch this grow and grow and grow. For those of you who are unfamiliar with GSV Labs, I'm going to give you the 30-second background. We're a global innovation platform. We're focused on helping emerging entrepreneurs, corporate innovators, nonprofits, governments, everyone who's around this innovation ecosystem accelerate their growth and accelerate their vision. We do that through our innovation centers, through our online technology platform Passport, as well as through partnerships with some of the premier academic corporate institutions around the globe. We've got about 800 startups that have come through our community since 2015. It's a community that's raised over $600 million. Right now, we have about 175 startups in our innovation center, and we're hosting about 80 events per year between here and GSV Labs Boston, our other major center. And then on the online side, we actually have an infinitely larger community. Our virtual innovation center, GSV Passport, has about 10,000 founders from over 90 countries around the world, 50 different corporate partners, 400 investors, hundreds of expert mentors, and every one of our members gets access to an incredible portfolio of technology tools and services that are valued at nearly $1 million. And with that type of ecosystem and community, it only made sense that we would start getting people out here kind of over and over and over again so that we could do pitches around different verticals and introduce the startup community. Hence why you're all here for the Pioneer Pitch Night. And we'll go in and get started with pitches before too long, but wanted to give a special thanks to one of our partners and investors, Riyadh Valley Company, which is the venture capital arm of King Saud University, and one of the most active investors in the Middle East, and is investor in healthcare, IT, renewable energy, and most importantly, GSV Labs. So it's a pleasure to have them all here. And continue to build that bridge between Silicon Valley and the rest of the world. But King Saud University is not the only kind of premier academic institution that we're really focused on working with. Before we get into pitches, I'm going to hand it off to my colleague Saba Baksamusa to share a new initiative we have in the education technology space with one of the premier edtech institutions in the world. Saba?
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Alec. And we're here to we're really excited. We've partnered with the University College of London in the UK to launch what is known as UCL Educate Digital. So UCL Educate Digital is the world's first online research-based edtech accelerator program that it focuses on evidence-led research and student learning outcomes and business impact. So working with professors from the UCL Institute of Education, the UCL Business School, and obviously all of the resources that we've been able to put together at GSV Labs that help accelerate business success. We're launching this next week on the 20th of January. You can all sign up for early access at ucleducate.com. We thought there would be no better place to launch this than here at the Pioneer Pitch Night for EdTech companies. So without further ado, let's get started with the pitches.
Wonderful. Well, with that, it's my pleasure to welcome our first CEO and founder to the stage, Torsar Koti, the CEO of Market Games.
Can you guys hear me?
My apologies. I jumped the gun. I want to take a moment and introduce the wonderful three judges that are sitting up front before I get Torsar on the stage. Should have been paying better attention to this presentation. We have three great judges with deep experience in venture and education technology. Nick Franco, who's the COO of HMC Capital USA, another wonderful investor in GSV Labs. We've got Joy Chen, who's the Chief Investment Officer of TAL Education, one of China's premier education companies and a true thought leader and industry leader in the space. And then Mohammed Al-Jarala, the GM of investment from Riyadh Valley Company, to evaluate these pitches in these companies. And the winner will get $2,000 in cash tonight, as well as 2 free memberships at GSV Labs for a year. So we're just always excited to bring more and more of these founders into our ecosystem. Now with that, it is my pleasure to welcome Torsar Koti, the CEO and founder of Market Games.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So over the last decade, EdTech has been all about access to content. Putting text online, taking lectures, creating videos, and putting online. This decade is all about engagement and efficacy, building active and collaborative learning content to drive student success. Our focus is core business education. That's what I know. And what we see is an access problem. Only a fraction, millions of young students have access to high quality business education. And we know it's the institutions. High costs to get in, low acceptance rate. We're looking to change that. And we're looking to partner with the institution to do so. Our first problem we're tackling is the textbook. Textbook is really expensive, and students aren't reading them. And just to give you an idea, let me show you this book right here. This book is just a book of concepts with minimal applications of real-world experience. It's dead weight. In the real world, a problem is presented to you first, and then you look for the content. The textbook is just the other way around. It's just not building the skill sets that employers are demanding, and it's make it active, social, and insightful. Create a gamified learning experience that increases engagement and leverage that engagement to drive insights. And use the social element to scale it. So creating a collaborative learning environment will put less pressure on the professor, and you move from a one-to-many learning format to a many-to-many learning format. Now, let's get into a product. This product took me well over a year to develop. I built it for an intro to business class at UC Berkeley Haas. It's a game where students play in teams and compete for market share and profits over multiple rounds. These are freshman students, undergrads, trying to figure career pathways. And the beauty about this game is role-based. There's a CEO, head of product, head of marketing, operation, and finance, and you make decisions where there are trade-offs. So you deal with uncertainty and ambiguity. And we rolled it out last year, not only for the 700-student class at Berkeley Haas, but various other programs. And we've gotten really good feedback, and we've been talking to other universities. And we're going to be running case studies this year with 10 universities because we see a lot of value in the product. One, marketing. As you play the game in your role, you get to learn about head of marketing. You learn about marketing career pathways. And we can market the course's content. And schools, they see value in that. Now, here's why this matters now. We all know that it's hard to sell to institutions. They're not ready to make these changes. But there's interesting things that are happening now where schools are looking to change their curriculum. Every school that I talk to, active and collaborative learning tools is something that is very important to them. And online learning is going to be the future of learning. Now, here's the size of our opportunity. We're coming into the market building a new generation of business simulations, and we're moving into library of gamified learning content, creating these content for online learning for institutions. Here's our competitive landscape. There's a lot of legacy sims out there, and their products is in no comparison to ours. One of the things we actually stand out at is that we can go to any school that teaches intro to business, and we can cover 75% of the content. There's not a lot of customization in our product. And, well, we're not worried about Pearson. So we're looking to raise right now about $600,000 to refine the product, to build those case studies, and get ready for scale. And this is my team. Sarah Satesky build products for UPenn and Wharton, working with Coursera to build an intro to corporate finance. Also at Haas. She's a design person. My background is in accounting and finance, and then we have a tech person that have some exits under their belt, building remote teams in Europe and Asia. This is the textbook that I mentioned to you about, and even though that we are doing higher education, we see interest in K-12 and corporate. So we have Google as one of our customers on that end. Thank you so much. My name is Torsa Coty. I'm the founder of Market Games and a lecturer at UC Berkeley House.
All right. Thank you, Torser. I'm now excited to welcome our second startup, Kylene Chen, to the stage, who's the CEO of Evidentially.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I started my career out of graduate school as a second grade teacher in inner city Boston. And that was in 2001, and I was pretty lucky to have 2 computers in my classroom, both with internet access. And at the time, the only 2 math apps that I could find online were Number Munchers and Math Blaster. Of course, my students loved it, but there was so much that I didn't know. Were these products actually helping all of my students, or just the ones that were already good at fact fluency? In my inner city school, were they helping the students who needed the most, or was I actually increasing the achievement gap? Back then, I had no way of knowing. Take a guess how many educational apps are available to teachers today. There are over 500,000 educational apps in the Google Play and Apple App Store. Every year in the US, school systems spend $13 billion on educational technology tools, and districts use an average of 700 different edtech apps each month. And almost all of these products are purchased without any research providing evidence that they work. Why do schools continue purchasing products without knowing if they work and for whom they work? Because there is research out there, and there are a lot of organizations conducting research on educational technology. The problem is that research, specifically efficacy evaluation, is very costly, very time-consuming, and ultimately very inaccessible. But the need is still there. Schools need to know, does this product actually work for my specific teachers and students? And companies and their investors obviously understand the importance of demonstrating impact. Evidentially fills those needs. Founded in late 2018, we are changing the way that EdTech and educators view research, making it more affordable, actionable, and accessible. And we're doing this by productizing the research services industry. We are a software as a service company, and we've built tools to conduct product impact evaluations efficiently and quickly. Our evidence suite answers questions such as who is using the product and where are they located, what populations are you using it, are we serving typically underserved students, how is usage related to outcomes, is it really the case that more usage leads to better outcomes, and of course, what's the impact, and arguably more importantly, who is benefiting or not. Our business model is to sell annual subscriptions to Evidence Suite because research should not be a one-and-done deal. Companies and districts need to be able to run multiple studies a year for product improvement as well as tracking student achievement over time. Typical research organizations charge hundreds of thousands of dollars for a single study. Our annual district subscription is $10K, and our annual EdTech product subscription is $60K, and we're working to continue to bring that cost down. Our estimated TAM is about $950 million. Our customers are really excited to finally be getting the information that they need. Last year, we worked with about 20 organizations, including EdTech companies, districts, and sponsors who want to know if their portfolio is actually having an impact. Our next step of our journey is to take all of the scripts and algorithms that we've developed for our internal tools and build a customer-facing tool that's fully automated and standalone so that districts and companies can load their own data in and generate reports with a click of a button. Last year, we generated about $220,000 in revenue. We're looking to secure seed funding for this year to break even by 2021 and get to over $50 million in revenue in 5 years. Our ask is $2 million for a seed round to continue developing the customer-facing portion of our tool, as well as to scale our operations, marketing, and sales. And we have an amazing team that will put that investment to good use. We have worked together for over 10 years at Empirical Education, a leading research organization that has incubated and spun off Evidentally. Along with myself, the CEO, we have our co-founders, Dennis Newman and Val Lazarev, both of whom have decades of experience in ed policy and research sciences, and Robin Means, our jack of all trades that keeps us on track as we continue to build out our company. If you'd like to learn more, please visit our website and come meet with us later this evening. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Kylene. I'm excited to invite up Tilak, the CEO and founder of Out Talent. This is part of the talent portion of our EdTech and Talent Night. And Hugh, the stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. We're Untitled Talent. We help top engineers from emerging markets get jobs abroad at companies like Google. We've just gone through YC, and we're here to meet more people who are as passionate about education as we are. And my name is Tilek. I'm from Kyrgyzstan. Back in 2006, I got an email from a Google recruiter. I was so surprised, I thought it was a scam. But it turned out it was real, and getting a job there was life-changing. My salary in Kyrgyzstan was $4,000 a year, and after moving to Ireland, it more than 10x'd. I ended up working at Google for 11 years, helping all these Google products and working at Google X. And now we dream to help billions of people achieve similar career goals. And to do that, of course, what needs to be done is we need to improve education in every country around the world. And we cannot do that by ourselves. But we have a plan. So our plan is, first, we want to learn the industry needs from the best employers. Second, we want to build a community that is supportive, that is successful and inspiring. Third, we want to use that knowledge, the industry knowledge, and that community to inspire people around the world to achieve their dreams and to improve their education. To start, we decided to focus on the world's most undervalued developers. And they live in emerging markets mainly. And turns out it's actually quite lucrative as well and helps us become sustainable very early on. So if we help only 10% of emerging markets developers, that's 1 million developers. And if we earn $10,000 per person, that's already $10 billion. So how do we actually help? We crawl the web to find them. We interview them, just like Google does. We sign income share agreements, just like Lambda School. Then we help them with interview prep, and then we place them. And to place them and solve chicken and egg of recruiting, we actually came up with a hack. We have friends at all these amazing companies, and they come from emerging markets, and they act as passionate mentors, and they refer the best engineers to their companies. That helps our graduates get multiple offers at the same time. How does this scale? So our magic number is 5. If we get to 5 human hours per placement, that means one mentor can place 360 people per year, which we think is doable. And if we get to 3,000 mentors and 360 placements per mentor, and we earn $10,000 per placement, that's already $10 billion. In comparison, Google had 10,000 employees by the time they reached $10 billion a year. And if you manage to scale at the same magic number 5, you can become even more scalable than software companies. Of course, for that, we'll need to scale beyond relocation to local and remote jobs. And we're very proud of our results. We already ranked 250,000 engineers. We signed 55 income share agreements with the very best ones at estimated worth of $380K. And 15 engineers already got jobs at amazing companies, mainly in Europe and in Canada for now. And our revenue is exploding already. Without talent, we help top engineers in emerging markets get jobs abroad at companies like Google. We already managed to make 15 amazing placements, and our immediate market size is $10 billion. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Carolyn Peer, CEO of Humaxa. And Humaxa is disrupting employee retention and performance through an AI chatbot assistant.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Peer, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Humaxa. We offer the AI assistant for employee retention and performance. Today's employees expect to change jobs frequently and work flexibly. A recent study said that nearly half of the millennials in the workforce today plan to leave their job within 2 years. The problem with this is losing your key employees kills companies. So how well do you know what will make them stay, engage, and perform their best? Not knowing cost $160 billion, according to Burson by Deloitte, just in 2017. Of course, this is a huge problem, so there are many employee retention tools on the market today. The problem with them is they don't work. They depend on boring surveys that nobody wants to take. They cannot automate the employee retention and performance process, and they take forever to see results. So let's replace these broken tools. Let's replace them with a fun, interactive, useful chatbot assistant that speaks to employees, finds out how they feel, and offers to take action right in the flow of work. It takes 8 weeks worth of work, rolling out surveys, gathering data, going through obligatory meetings. All of that goes away. Let me introduce you to Max, our AI assistant. In this one example, he's reaching out to an employee to find out how they feel about the professional development. And this employee is saying, hey, it's not bad, but my manager is just too busy to pay attention to me right now. Max recognizes that and offers to take action and connect that employee with a mentor right then and there, bringing value to both the employee and the employer. Our users are loving us. They're finding out new things about their coworkers and about their workforce in general. But of course, we're more than just a chatbot. Our patent-pending technology includes a dashboard, control panel, and we're using data science to make recommendations and provide insights. We've recruited an all-star team. I feel incredibly lucky. My academic background is in cognitive neuroscience and instructional technology, and I worked at a small HR tech startup that was sold to ADP, and I left with one of my coworkers, Guillermo Borges. He is our CTO, and his background, he's a graduate student in computer science and AI, and we just recently brought on our chief marketing officer, Jennifer Gargolinski, who is a startup founder herself and has over $1 billion in enterprise sales. Because our vision for Humaxa is to make it an open platform, with making our APIs public, we see ourselves as a uniting factor in this competitive landscape. This SaaS market is huge, but we're starting with the US tech sector at $1.2 billion. We've done a lot with a little. We launched the beta version of our program in fall of 2018, had our first client sign on just a few days after we launched, and we're seeing great results so far, with 25 to 50% better engagement than with any kind of survey tool that's out there today. We're currently in talks and in open beta. The talks represent about 1.2 million ARR, and we have between 5,000 and 6,000 users on our platform today. We're growing at about 10% month over month. So please join us. Let's transform the employee-employer relationship forever. We're seeking 1.2 million in order to reach 20% growth month over month and at least 7.8 million ARR by the end of 2021. And there's been some nice exits in this space within the last year. Thank you very much. My name is Carolyn Peer, and we are Humaxa.
Thanks so much. Up next, we have Ernie Booth, the CEO of Coursava. Coursava is making the college selection process more fun and impactful for everyone.
Hi, how you doing tonight? My name's Ernie Booth. I'm the CEO of Coursava. If I can go to my first slide. Sorry, having a problem with the clicker. Thank you. So as I said, I'm Ernie Booth, the CEO of Coursava, and we provide families with guidance through the college admissions process using behavioral science and machine learning. Maybe you've seen these numbers before, but I'm always surprised every time I see them. 24 minutes a year is what students receive on average for their second biggest financial commitment of their lifetime. And if they want more trusted advice, they have to pay $5,000 on average, and this affects millions of students and families every year. Here in San Francisco, that issue is even more staggering at over 2,600 to 1 student-to-counselor ratio. Coursava is delivering their third product this year. Tonight, I want to tell you about the traction we have on our first 2 products and why we're raising our first outside round. Coursava's activity platform combines Coursava's industry knowledge expertise along with other EdTech partners and industry experts. We package this in a fun activity platform, and we offer this as either a la carte for activity packs or via an unlimited subscription, which also includes Coursava's content feed. The content feed provides timely information to families going through the admissions process, and we filter that content down because of the detailed information that we learn about them as a part of the selection process. I've been surprised by the Coursava partner platform, and we're in late-stage negotiations with a bunch of partners. We bring thousands of new users to our partners every month, provide product development expertise, payment processing, and they bring their subject matter expertise. So what does this look like from the student and family perspective? Coursava makes the process fun, providing first our proven college selection activities, and then our third parties provide the rest of the college admissions process built on top of our platform. From a family perspective, what you don't know is probably the scariest thing about the college admissions process for most families. Coursava provides an affordable approach compared to the alternative, and families get the best knowledge possible through our content feed, and this is all provided to them in a timely fashion. So let me talk about our traction for our first 2 products. Our first product was provided to independent education consultants, and we helped over 100,000 students go through the process. This helped independent education consultants understand what was important to students and how to help them select the best college for them. And then our second product scaled that first product, providing a solution to high school counselors. We brought it online and we added machine learning to provide college recommendations using the emotional preferences we gathered through the selection process and ratings data that we've been gathering for the last 3 years. So why now is the right time for Coursava, and why is Coursava the right company to bring this solution to market? First, we built a world-class team. Our team has shipped multiple high-impact products to billions of users. We have been designing for Gen Z for many, many years. And we have lots of EdTech experience working one-on-one with over 1,700 families. Our advisors also have provided us with critical access to information and wisdom that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to gain access to. Finally, moving from B2B to the B2C market provides us with a much larger revenue opportunity, which really makes sense for us at this point in time to seek venture funding. And finally, the combination of our emotional preferences, ratings data, and machine learning technology makes us stand out in the college selection space and has provided us with a lot of credit with our industry partners. Coursava's revenue model is a partner share model, which provides us with a maximum amount of flexibility and the greatest chance of succeeding. Today, we're focused on the traditional education pathway, but tomorrow we're looking at the changing educational space and how we might provide guidance to every learner. So we're raising $1.5 million to accelerate our growth and expand our engineering team. We also have a detailed go-to-market strategy. If you're interested in talking about our partner program or learning more about investment, please send me an email or talk to me after. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Up next, I'm excited to invite Manal, the CEO of Education Vision Technologies.
Hi, my name is Monal Parmar, and I'm CEO of Educational Vision Technologies. We have created a system which enables efficient learning and substantial cost reduction for universities and corporations. We have early paying customers, have patents pending, and administrator level interest from 35 universities, which at saturation represent potential revenue of $60 million per year. The idea for my company started from me sitting in a classroom getting frustrated. I was having a difficult time taking notes and at the same time understanding all of the complex derivations on the board, and I wished that there's something that can take notes for me so that I can use more of my focus towards understanding. I discussed this issue with my peers and found this problem to be widespread. Students understand less than 1/3 of a lecture is taught on the board, and universities on average lose $13.2 million per year due to lost tuition revenue due to students dropping out. So we've created a platform which enables students to do better in their classes and help universities recoup that lost tuition revenue. So this platform captures all the boards. This particular board is about 50 foot wide. It uses advanced artificial intelligence to generate notes for the student, so that way they can focus more on understanding instead of having to write every single thing down. And if they click on any word in the notes, it takes them to the point in the video when the professor wrote that on the board. So it enables efficient learning. From the success of our board platform, we expanded to improve classes that are taught using slides. It merges the PDF and video formats, so it has the efficiency of PDF with the depth of information of a video. You scroll through a PDF, that's really efficient, but just reading a slide might not be enough. With our students love our platform. We have great user feedback and high utilization rates. And universities use these two metrics to make purchasing decisions. We have a net promoter score of 69, and last year there's a class where on average 58% of students were logging in on a weekly basis. So for a lot of our classes, we see 30 to 60% utilization rates. We provide a tremendous amount of value for universities. We provide note-taking accommodations. We improve the academic experience for students with disabilities. And we eliminate the multi-$100,000 cost for providing note-taking accommodations. We improve academic success, and universities have budgets to decrease time to graduation and decrease attrition rates. And we save money for creating online courses. It costs $100,000 to $400,000 to create a class in a studio. With our solution, it's over 100 times cheaper to create a high-quality digital offering, and it's substantially more convenient. Instead of going to a special studio, professor goes to their class, teaches as usual, and we create a high-quality digital offering. We had a paid pilot in the first quarter of last year. At that point in time, our product wasn't scalable, but we had great customer satisfaction, and we've been working to scale up our product. Our goal for this quarter is hitting $100,000 ARR. That equates to 17 subscriptions. And our goal for the end of this year is hit $1 million in ARR, which is about 100 subscriptions. We have administrator interest from 35 universities, and we're reaching these administrators from conferences and getting referrals from our current customers. We have a SaaS business model. We're initially entering the US higher education market, and the bottoms-up number for that is $1.5 billion. We charge a $12,000 annual subscription per room. If a university wants to digitize their whole catalog, that's $2 million per year. We currently have a 69% margin at that $12,000 price point, and by mid-year, we expect to have a 90% margin. We're the only company in the world which autonomously generates notes from boards, and we have unique ways in where we connect all the content together for novel information access efficiencies, and we have patents pending around both of these core technologies. Learning happens everywhere. We're initially entering the higher education market, but we already have our first corporate client. The corporate market in the US alone is $130 billion. And we also have military interest. So there's multiple markets that we can expand into in the near future. I'm CEO and CTO. My background is in computer vision and machine learning, and I was previously a product manager at an edtech startup. We have Alan Waskin, who's head of business development, Jing Pei, who's head of machine learning, Lynn Scott, web development, and Otto, who leads our embedded systems team. We're seeking $500,000 in order to hire 6 salespeople, a mission to improve education on a global scale. So join us and let's create a more educated world. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, Manal. Up next, I'd like to welcome Catherine Pace, the CEO and co-founder of Elanation.
The iPad is amazing. It's an endless portal to games, content, and adventure. And let's face it, if we were all children, we'd be addicted to it too. Children today grow up as digital natives, and it's our responsibility to create healthy places for them to play both outside and online. Good afternoon. My name is Catherine, and I'm the CEO and co-founder at Elanation. Today, mums and dads across the United States are spending over $400 billion a year on direct medical costs for their overweight and anxious children. This doesn't include the billions of dollars that are being spent by governments, corporations, and schools who are also trying to address the problem. Today, globally, 1 in 4 children is clinically diagnosed as obese. 1 in 6 is suffering from anxiety. These 2 problems are increasing dramatically. There are also 2 illnesses that can be simply helped by increasing the daily physical activity of a child. And yet, 70% of 13-year-olds have stopped playing sport by age 13. Why? The context has changed. Today, we have double working parents, increased sport fees, traffic congestion. There is no affordable, accessible solution for a generation of digital natives to learn sport on the fly. Until now. Welcome to Elanation, the world's largest sports education platform that gets kids moving daily, anytime, anywhere. There are thousands of videos produced by former Olympians and athletes that teach kids across 15 different sports, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. We have patentable time-lapse video share capability, allowing kids to analyze their technique over time. We have direct messaging between parents, kids, schools, teachers, and their coaches. We have integrated sports equipment, allowing kids to compete on global leaderboards and weekly challenges. We have health analytics and data, allowing kids to monitor, measure, and improve their growth daily. We also have micro-shopping capability connected with goals and rewards. For less than 1/10 of the average price a family is spending each month on extracurricular sport, they can now access Elanation for $5 a month. Better yet, sponsor a child in a third world country and pay $10 a month. For our power users, they can power up using the eTurbo Sports Watch, which retails for $99. We've sold over 3,000 of these devices, generating over $200,000 in revenue. Elanation is following similar trajectories as billion-dollar companies such as Masterclass and Peloton, except for kids. In November, we launched beta trials with 3 schools and successfully achieved 80% daily retention, improved the step count of children from 10,000 to 14,000 steps per day, saw them learning 2 new skill videos uploaded per week, improved sleep count, and also increased 40% month-on-month new users. Nike has just signed on as our first corporate partner in the United States, giving 2,000 kids across America access to the Elanation platform. They're also providing us with an NBA star to become a new teacher inside the portal. Recently, a Bangladeshi American entrepreneur reached out to us. Educated at both Harvard and Penn University, he knows that if you increase a child's heart rate before learning new material, you can increase their academic performance by over 50%. We're currently negotiating a deal with their group of 50,000 families across the United States via Mathnasium, a deal worth $350,000 in revenue per month recurring revenue. Ellenation is the first platform that allows any child to independently learn a sport at their own speed. My background is in mechanical engineering and industrial design. I relocated to Denmark, taught myself Danish, and managed the creative director of Bang & Olufsen's design studio. My business partner was a famous children's entertainer who entertained 10 million kids per year via the Wiggles to get up and dance. We're attracting industry expert advisors such as Michael Linden, who sold lynda.com to LinkedIn for $1.5 billion. We're raising $4 million, have secured over $750,000 to scale our team, acquire our first 25,000 users, and generate $4 million in revenue. Today, the way that children are trying to learn sport online is fragmented and broken. Ellenation is a working solution. The word elan means energy and enthusiasm. We're growing a global nation of kids to play energetically and enthusiastically both outside and online. 1 billion children deserve access to sports education and inspiration daily. I hope you'll join me in giving it to them. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Catherine. Next up, we have Yvonne from MyBuddyAI. MyBuddyAI helps build children's vocabulary with educational voice assistance from AI.
Hello. Are you ready for me to start? Great, thank you. So my name is Ivan. I am the co-founder and CEO of MyBuddyAI, and we're building the voice-based AI English tutor for kids. It all started when I brought my daughter, Sophia, to the United States. She was 3 years old, and she had to learn speaking English. Of course, there were tons of English learning apps and websites, but it turns out that the only way to practice speaking online was through tutoring platforms like VIP Kid that connect children and teachers via video conferencing and charge $20 per lesson. Unfortunately, these platforms can't reach the global problem, and because 500 million children are trying to learn English every year in the world, and these platforms are just too expensive. Plus, there are not enough English teachers in the world to meet the demand. So enter Buddy, the voice-based AI English teacher that can tutor every child on the planet. It helps children practice spoken English by talking with a virtual character just as they would with a human tutor. So Buddy the robot is literally a virtual English teacher. Through conversation and voice-based games, it helps children learn and use vocabulary, improve pronunciation, and even practice real-life conversations. We launched in 2018, and we're growing 20% ever since. So in December, we made $100,000 in subscription revenue. We grew 11x last year, and so now we're at $1.3 million annualized revenue. We have 11,000 paying students, and the user base is growing at 20% month over month. The secret sauce behind our growth is pretty hard to cook. You need to take a whole cool virtual character, add a tablespoon of proprietary voice technology, optimized to understand accented children's speech, and compliant with a children online privacy tutor that bonds with the teacher, with the children. These bonds are similar to emotional connections between a child and the teacher that builds motivation and significantly improve the learning outcomes. Children and parents love us. We have over 80,000 ratings on the App Store, and almost all of which are 5-star ratings. And our unit economics is working. So we, with a lifetime value at $45 and customer acquisition cost at $10, we can use paid user acquisition profitably. So over the last 2 years, we launched, found early product market fit, get to $1 million annualized revenue. This year, we plan to grow 3-4x to reach $3-4 million annual revenue by advancing the product and entering new markets. And by 2025, we will be generating $100 million annualized revenue by providing affordable access to speaking practice to million children around the world. We're a small team, but we have the experience of building powerful voice-first products. Previously, we worked at another voice assistant company, Cubic AI, which was acquired by Yandex. Our team of engineers is supported by PhDs in psychology and education sciences, as well as by game designers from Disney Interactive and Leapfrog. So far, we raised almost $1 million from angel investors, including Sandhill Angels, and now we are raising $1 million to get to $3-4 million annualized revenue this year, advance the product, and prepare to raising Series A and scaling next year. So join us on the mission, and I hope our children, as the next generation, will be able to really speak to each other. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Zach from TeachFX. TeachFX empowers teachers with feedback on student engagement.
Okay. TeachFX is a Fitbit for teachers that measures student engagement. I'm Zach, and I'm one of the co-creators of TeachFX, and I met the founder of TeachFX, Jamie Poskin, in grad school at Stanford. Jamie's a former English and math high school teacher. Here's a picture of him from his high school days, and usually when he gives this presentation, he'll say something along the lines of, well, and this is me from my teaching days, and as you can see, I had a really bad haircut back then. And I don't have any pictures of me from teaching high school, but I do have a picture of me from high school with a really bad haircut. So, but back to Jamie. One of the problems Jamie faced as a teacher is that he rarely got feedback on his teaching. In fact, his English classes were never observed by another adult during his entire teaching career. And you can imagine this made him feel pretty overwhelmed at times, unsupported. He was unsure if he was actually getting better at teaching. It was a pretty demoralizing experience. And we didn't need to go to grad school together to figure this out, but we realized lots of other teachers across the country were feeling exactly the same way. And so in grad school, we decided to create TeachFX, a platform that utilizes the latest advances in artificial intelligence to automatically measure student engagement and give teachers really targeted pedagogical insights from their instruction. It's super simple to use. Teachers simply open up an app on their phone, tablet, or laptop, click record, the audio, our algorithm analyzes the audio, and teachers get that feedback on their instruction right after class. So Jamie's one of the founders. He's a former tech entrepreneur himself, and with CTO is Burke. He's a great engineer, undergrad and grad school degrees in computer science with a couple machine learning patents in his pocket as well. And our founding team is rounded out by Professor David Brazer from Stanford and me as our head of partnerships. So why student engagement? Why a Fitbit for teachers that measures student engagement? Well, decades of research shows that student talk actually drives student learning, that there's a causal relationship there. And one of the things that John Hattie found was that teachers on average talk for 80% of class on average, 80%. So that's where TeachFX starts. We start by visualizing for teachers how much of their class time is teacher talk versus student talk, group talk, and silence. And then we can show them really targeted pedagogical strategies or teaching strategies, if you will, such as using wait time, open-ended questioning, generating uptake or volleyball-style conversations, and helping teachers improve their lesson design so that there's more, so that the students are really doing the thinking, talking, and learning in class. And we go a step further, too, by helping teachers generate more equitable discourse in the classroom by highlighting those moments when you're getting different students in the classroom talking. And guess what? It works. Among the thousands of teachers who use TeachFX today, we've seen student talk increase by 3x across classrooms in America, Brazil, and Chile, where we have our users. And so it really proves the old adage, what gets measured gets done. And for me, a really gratifying part of this, of course, is that the biggest beneficiaries of more student talk are our most vulnerable populations. It's your English learners, it's your students with disabilities, your students from low-income families, and they also happen to be supported by federal funding programs, Title III, Title I, respectively. And of course, the market for teacher PD is full of it's just full of crap, to be honest. Teachers, for the teachers in the room, they understand, oftentimes it's just one-size-fits-all workshops that are driven by top-down district initiatives that are expensive or flying in consultants from all over America. And as a result, they're really infrequent. You actually don't get a dosage enough to change teacher practice. And so it's no wonder then that 71% of teachers say they're dissatisfied with the teacher PD that they're getting. And so we're reimagining professional learning across schools. We want it to be, instead of one-size-fits-all, intensely personalized to the teacher. Instead of top-down, it's teacher-led, so they can choose the areas in which they want to improve their instruction. It's affordable. Teachers can get 10 times the amount of feedback they'd get from an instructional coach at 1/10 the cost of hiring a coach. And it's regular and job embedded, so that the platform can be used by teachers literally across the world in every class every single day. And that's how we see schools using it. It's individual teachers reflecting on their craft, observation. Coaches use it in observations to have a more effective coaching conversation, and we see teachers using it in their PLCs to actually talk about that objective data. So we have over 50 plus partners, paying partners across the country and around the world. We're right now have a product that teachers love with cutting edge machine learning technology. We've raised $3 million from our seed investors. This school year, we have $500,000 in annual recurring revenue with forecast to do $1 million in the next school year. And while we're not actively raising money right now, we are always trying to expand our footprint. So if you know of those school leaders or district leaders around the country who want to see more meaningful, equitable, and rigorous instruction in their class, more student-centered instruction, please do introduce them to us. And if you have any questions, please do talk to me. Feel free to email Jamie. We'll be in the back later tonight. So thank you all.
Thank you, Zach. Now our final startup, certainly not least but last, we have Create and Learn. I'd like to welcome Joanne to the stage. Create and Learn is pioneering next generation of computer science education through online classes for children.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joanne. I am a product marketing manager with Create and Learn. And before I tell you a little bit about our company, I just want to say that we are new to the GSV, very new. And it really is amazing to just look out into this audience and see so many kind faces on a cold Wednesday night here in support of not just, of course, our company, but all of these entrepreneurs. And we really appreciate it. And I'm just really glad to see you all here tonight. Thank you. So to get started, I just want to share that Create and Learn is a B2C company. We are providing STEM learning at the pace of innovation. So what does that mean? The world is changing rapidly, of course, and schools are not. So you see a photo there. It's true, you can still find classrooms with kids sitting in rows, and teachers often playing the role of sage on the stage. We do know that computer science education exists. The current state of it generally is very narrow. It's mostly focused on coding skills. And it is a little bit shallow. It doesn't go very deep, and it's focused on basic foundational skills. We know that the future of CS education must be broad and interdisciplinary. It must make connections across all the different areas of computer science education that are constantly evolving and emerging, including AI, data science, and of course, coding. And it needs to be deep. We focus on depth over breadth, and we want it to be a core subject for all students. That's why we're on a mission to provide STEM learning at the pace of innovation. And our solution is to provide a next-gen version of computer science curriculum that is scalable and can be delivered worldwide. So what does this consist of, this curriculum? Students with our curriculum will learn state-of-art technologies. Again, not just the basics and not just coding. They will be interdisciplinary. The lessons are all making connections to broader science topics and liberal arts. And, I'm going to go back one slide, the students will see the real world through these technologies and these applications. And so you can see a picture there of lots of different connections across sports, music, not just the typical topics that you would think about in terms of computer science education. So here are some of our sample classes. Of course, we have Scratch Ninja for the littlest ones, but I do want to focus on something like AI Explorers. And what you'll see there in the description is that students will gain broad understanding of what AI can and cannot do, as well as high-level technologies that power AI. That is a representation of cutting-edge computer science education. And we also have rigorous learning paths. We don't just stay at level 1 foundational coding concepts, for example, in Scratch. In order to become a Scratch Ninja, you have to reach level 4, where you're actually creating a personalized Scratch project and you're consolidating your learnings. Our focus is on creativity and critical thinking. These are skill sets that are incredibly important for the future of many students in many different domains. Students will discover, invent, and create, and ultimately be able to proactively come up with solutions to problems that they wouldn't even have thought of before going through these classes. And our courses are online. They're interactive. We use video conferencing. It's super easy to scale with virtual instruction. And you see all those fun little faces. There's a couple of our instructors there as well. And they're all super happy, and that's because in one of our most recent customer interview sets, we found that the parents really value, one of their top values is that they say that our instructors are approachable and incredibly highly experienced in the topics. Where are we now? We're in 40 states. So our students are zooming in from 40 different states, and we are also providing curriculum access to school sites. Here are some great testimonials. I want to just mention and focus on the one from a parent who says, "What you teach is pioneering." And here's our team. Jessie is our CEO and founder. And talk about cutting-edge curriculum. It's designed by her. And she was on the founding team of the Google Cloud platform in addition to holding a PhD in computer science. So we're Create and Learn. And right now at this stage in our company, we are focused on user acquisition. So if you would like to partner and help us ramp up our enrollment, that's something we would really appreciate. Thanks again. I'm Joanne, and we're from Create and Learn.
Wonderful. Well, let's give an additional round of applause to all of our presenters that were absolutely exceptional. I'm incredibly happy that I get to stand up here and talk to you for another 30 seconds and don't have to go make a judging decision here. We're going to ask our judges to head over into one of those rooms there and start the conversation, the deliberation. As that's happening, I think we have an incredible, conversation and discussion that's going to start up here on the stage. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome two of my favorite people in the world, my colleague Tara Lukabaugh and my former colleague Nancy Liu, who's the COO of the Advanced Education and Research Fund.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, everybody. So we have you guys for about 20 minutes while the judges deliberate. And so we're going to have a conversation with Nancy Liu, as Alec mentioned. She's the co-founder and COO of the Advanced Education Research and Development Fund. And so with that, Nancy, could you take a moment to introduce yourself and some of the work you're working on?
Yes, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be back here. So maybe the most relevant thing to say about being back in this space was that when I first moved to Silicon Valley, which is now about 5 years ago, I actually started my work here at GSVlabs, and I continue to work with GSV in other capacities. But prior to moving to California and the beautiful sunshine here 5 years ago, I had a career in education that really worked at the intersection of policy and business. I worked for a number of education companies in both K-12 and higher ed, and then had spent some time in the Obama administration heading strategic planning and performance management for the U.S. Department of Education, working for then Secretary Duncan and Deputy Secretary Jim Shelton, who remain two of my great mentors, and then came out here to do this work with GSV. Now I work with a new fund that I helped co-launch called the Advanced Education Research and Development Fund. It is co-funded and co-launched by the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And the way that we are a little bit different from a traditional venture fund is that we really work at something called directed development, which means that we fund companies, we also fund research labs, and we also fund actual teams and school districts of people who are using the products in their development. So that's a little bit different. For those who might be familiar with the DARPA model, which kind of led to the internet and a lot of new innovations from the Department of Defense, the concept of, we had used that broad concept in launching this new fund, which was, the idea is to do rapid fire innovation in learning and in education. And in that, really have a user center as the base of it, which we can talk a little bit more about, kind of the role of teachers and the end users. But we fund a variety of startups, existing companies, as well as research labs, and actually nonprofits and other mediators in the middle who work in the education space. Our first fund, which is related in the space of executive function and math, is live now, so you can learn more about it at efandmath.org. It's a fund that's working on, that we're deploying $50 million of capital into this space to really help drive innovation for organizations, companies, both for-profits and nonprofits, who are working at the intersection of helping improve math learning for students, particularly with the lens of how executive function works.
Awesome. Could you tell us a little bit more about why you're taking this approach of combining kind of those three pillars that you mentioned, and what the role of research plays in technology and education?
Yes. So one of the reasons why this approach is different is that we really believe that iterations of research is necessary in product development, and that it's not just happening at the company, but happening as a sector at large to support innovation that can happen with multiple companies. So one of the unique things that we do is that we really put the users at the center of this work. So part of the funding that we're deploying out there is actually the creation of what we call both an Educator Leadership Council, which is a team of educators. There's about 23 of them right now who represent people who are at the front line of working with students in mathematics, in technology, in executive function. These are frontline educators who are active in the classroom right now. And then we also have co-designed districts. There are districts that are actually working with the companies and the organizations that we fund to help them rapidly. They pair with the companies, and they actually help them refine the products, they test the products, they work with them in a cycle. Because what traditionally we found is that products get developed and then they try to sell to the end users, whether that's a school district or to parents, and then they might tweak the product based on feedback from people who bought it or beta tested it. But what we really want is to embed the user in the process of actually developing the product. So we have an approach. Our first $50 million is devoted to executive function and math, but we're really bringing these educators and these researchers at the center of it. So as funded, and then a school district is funded to do this work, because obviously it takes resources and people to do this, and they work together as a team. So even though all three are funded separately, they together are creating success to help better the ecosystem.
And are those three separate groups approach you separately, and then you create the teams, or do they create the teams and then come to you for investment?
That is an excellent question. So both ways. So each team can also apply on their own, but in order for it to be funded, you have to be able to work with each other. So that means that you have to be able to work with a school district, you have to be able to work with researchers together, but you guys can, they can apply together, having found each other, or we had actually created something called facilitated team development process, which is a process that we have adapted from, likewise from DARPA and other groups that have done this, where we actually, people submitted short concept briefs saying that we're interested in being a part of this process. Here are the skill sets we bring. We winnow those down to the applicable teams, and we actually brought everybody together. There's a series of online interactions where they get to meet each other, kind of self-select to peer together. But we also brought everybody together in person for a 3-day workshop that we created and we funded for everybody to basically meet each other. So we don't actually pair anybody together. So rather than this, think of it as an arranged marriage. This is kind of a facilitated dating process that we are doing for the organizations. But part of doing this is to make sure that the developers, the companies, as well as the researchers really see the end users as a core part of this. So as part of this facilitated team development process, our team of educators, whom we pay to participate in this process with them throughout the process, we're there in the meeting giving feedback, working with them on their concepts, helping them form teams. Everybody selects and forms their own team, but we create these opportunities for teams to come together. There were teams that then, applied that came out of that process, but there were plenty of people who pitched to us who also came together on their own. And as you can imagine, in the education sector, there are many existing companies that have their own co-pilot in terms of their co-design districts that they already work with or existing customer base that they may be working with to innovate, and we are helping them fund kind of that next level of innovation.
Great. So we have a diverse audience here that kind of filter into each of those groups. What kind of startups or entrepreneurs are you looking for, and who should be involved?
So the whole range. So in terms of specifically startups and entrepreneurs, one of the aspects of this that is different is that each fund, similar to DARPA, is topic focused. So we are only focusing for this first 50 million deployment in executive function and math. So only companies that are interested in working on the improvement and the intersection of executive function and math, particularly in K-12 schools. We have a heavy emphasis on middle years math, which we define as kind of 3rd through 8th grade, those middle years of math, but broadly K-12 math is our focus. So that, and executive function research or companies that can apply to that are intersecting with that is the immediate focus area that this first program will look at. As a fund more broadly, the intention of it is to see how this first program goes, and then we are and then the work will be to explore new ideas for other problems and other major topic areas that we would fund similarly in the same 3-prong approach.
Mm-hmm. So you talk about the importance of having the educators and the users really at the heart of building, iterating products. Where do you see EdTech kind of missing the mark in that area right now?
I think right now, a lot of times, EdTech companies will get feedback from a handful of educators, but educators and the end users are a variety of people in the education ecosystem. They can be the actual teachers in the classroom, they can be people in the school district who are the decision makers, they can be the implementation specialists, and then there's also the role of the parents. So there's a whole variety of people who are key stakeholders in this. For us, for this first program, the interventions are happening in the classroom, so we were particularly interested in classroom teachers in addition to the district partners where we work with districts as a whole. And where we think that we've seen EdTech companies not take this seriously enough is that they may get a feedback session or two. You see this a lot at conferences, whether it's ISTE or South by Southwest, ASU, GSV, a lot at ISTE. You get a $100 gift certificate for coming to a 60-minute feedback session, and you see this happen a lot. And that's actually, in pitches, you'll see we talk to 600 educators. All of those conversations are under 90 minutes, and somebody's getting a gift card for it. Those are usually not what we call iterations in research. But iterations research means that somebody is with this product from the concept stage to the development to the feedback, and it's a back and forth. It's sometimes 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Sometimes it doesn't go straight, it kind of goes vertical. But you really need people to give you candid feedback on a repeated cycle who really understands this. And that's really the role that we have deployed with this Educator Leadership Council, is that these are teachers that applied and were nominated, who have self-applied, qualified and who are being paid well for their time. And we do this, cognizant of the teacher's schedule. So the meetings only happen after school hours. They're virtual. They happen on weekends. We really don't want to interrupt the school cycle. But these are educators who really care about helping this solve the problem at the intersection of math and executive function. They're agnostic about the specific companies. They actually help us select the companies that get funded. So they are part of the pitch process and giving the feedback. But then they work with these teams and they rotate across the teams. They give feedback. Over the course of a cycle of a company, that could be anywhere from, the development can be anywhere from 18 months to 4 years. They stay with them and help give feedback in this rotation so that you get diverse feedback, but people are staying with it and they're engaged person at the table. They're not just somebody you toss a gift certificate to.
Yeah. And so what are you seeing some of the outcomes of placing these educators at the center of the work you're doing?
The feedback has been tremendous from our companies. We had our facilitated team development process which is where we gather together essentially all the companies and the researchers who were selected along with the educators for 3 days in person over a long weekend. And all of the companies came back to us saying, now we understand this won't work because of this, like we're gonna try this new lens, or this actually changes all of our projections about how we're attacking the market, which way we're gonna, that different points of entry, and new ideas about implementation. And with the implementation, the reality of it is that these teachers have seen it, they've seen how the training works, there's a practicality. So there's, it also pushes the question that we see a lot for companies, and something I encourage startups to think about is how much of your company, your product needs to be done with implementation fidelity versus implementation flexibility. And one of the leading feedback that came out of the process of working with educators, even at the beginning, is if you require a high degree of fidelity, it may not be flexible enough to actually scale. And so how do you work with implementation flexibility, but to still be able to get to the core of your product? And that's where having a really diverse pool of teachers that you can go back to repeatedly in the cycle gets to making a product that can really work for the broader ecosystem.
I want to switch gears just slightly to a more kind of broad conversation about edtech in general. What are some trends that you're seeing that in the market more broadly that are exciting to you?
Yeah, so lots of exciting trends out there. So certainly the use of AI out there in kind of that role in all the different stages of technology. The use of just thinking, but I would say much more broadly, the idea that edtech used to be really a few handful of products, kind of 10 years ago when I started this. There were products that helped teachers maybe manage their classrooms more effectively. At the very core, that was like attendance tracking or communicate with parents better. There were supplementary products that maybe helped you tutor in math or other products. So there were a handful of basic education products that hit in those areas, whether it's a supplementary product or they made kind of management of school more efficient. What we're seeing that's really exciting to me is a much broader focus on social emotional learning and the whole child. So even tonight, seeing products that are thinking about children's health from a sports perspective, thinking about how teachers interact with students, those are all part of what we call the whole child concept, and that includes the social emotional development of students, and thinking that and the data that comes out of that are typically not attendance and test scores. And it's not, but those are kind of the more minutia details that will let you glean details about, what's happening in terms of the interaction between the teacher and the students and the diverse students. What are the issues that are happening that may be related much more to how students want to learn, or whether the students feel like they have a connection with someone in the school. So that very much broader sense about the whole child and the products that are emerging that are not just solving the attendance tracking problem, the grade problem, or the math problem. That's been the most exciting thing.
What would you say is the formula for building a successful learning product?
So, there's certainly no one cookie cutter formula, but some of the key hallmarks of success that I've seen in terms of building a successful company is certainly having a great team. These are kind of not unfamiliar for anybody who follows kind of some of the core GSV principles in what they've looked for, but having great people at the core of it. And that means a team that is well balanced. They work well together. You see lots of companies falter not because they don't have great products or they don't have revenue, but something happens to the founding team. There's some sort of disagreement, lawsuits happened. If you don't have the right team to start off with, that's going to be a problem because startups are hard work. These need to be people that you want to work with. You probably want to invite them over to your home on a Saturday night. That's probably a good threshold. And these are also people who should be passionate about your mission and your vision. So this is something that I found that's particularly people don't think about in EdTech. Education is a deeply passionate community. Many people are former educators. They typically come into it because of a story about their own child or a child they met along the way. So there are some great talents out there who may join a team, but if they're not passionate about making a difference in having what the end product is doing in terms of the education sector, the learning for people, for kids, then they're probably not a right fit because you can be the best engineer, but if you don't care about the impact of your product and you don't think about it with that lens, those are the people who don't work well with the Educator Leadership Council, they don't work well with the school district, they don't work well as the product scales. So finding the right people, I think, is one of the core hallmark of it. And then really understanding, I think the second thing is really understanding how your product is unique because there are many products that are similar in the education space. How is your product unique? What is it doing that other products are not? And are you meeting a real need that can scale? If you're only going to be able to fit a niche population, then it's probably not a product that is going to be able to reach, have the impact that you want.
Those are actually two great points that a lot of the companies we've worked with here at GSVlabs have struggled with, especially the first, when you talk about people. We have a lot of founders that are seeking that co-founder. What advice would you have for an EdTech founder that's looking to seek a co-founder? Or more broadly, what advice would you have for a founder in the education space?
So I always say that co-founding is something, it's similar to marriage because you will spend as much, if not more time with your co-founder than you will with your spouse. And most likely at the beginning, much more time than your spouse. So don't jump into marriage first. Please date. And that's really important. And I don't say that lightly. Truly, please date. And I don't say a few dates. Really date. In the same analogy that people say, maybe don't get married until you at least go on a vacation, take them home to meet your parents, go through these milestones. So they're the same thing. So first, you have to find the co-founder, and that means going through whether the support of something like GSVlabs or other networks to meet people who have the right skill set. I often suggest that, when you go into that, it's a great time to maybe have the person be a consultant or an advisor. Like, don't jump into co-founder status yet. Really try this out. This is kind of the analogy of like, what would it be like to, dating might be good after a few sessions of talking over coffee. What is it like to go on vacation for a weekend together with this person? So work with them, have a deliverable, and actually see how does this person react, in different environments? Like, how would they react in a pitch? Have them meet a few people, your funders, your advisors. That's like bringing them home to meet the parents. Go through that whole process and before you decide on a co-founder, because many startups have gone wrong with bad co-founders, and it should feel like a true partnership.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nancy. Before the judges come out, I'd like to open it up to some audience questions. And we have Alec in the back with a mic, so please don't start, and Leela over here as well, so please don't start your question until you have a microphone. So does anybody have any questions for Nancy? Right here? Yes. Yep. I have a mic for you. She's bringing it over here.
Hi, Nancy. Jason Ma. Thoughtful and articulate. Thank you very much. One question for you is that if you have the floor with the G20 leaders and governments, right, what would you recommend to them in terms of education or future work in education?
That it would be a great scenario to have, very valuable. Companies that are doing great work in middle school and high school in lifelong learning. incredible companies in the sector. But from my time in Washington at the U.S. Department of Education to what I see here in Silicon Valley, the later you work with make an intervention, the more you're just catching up. Particularly in the U.S., the investment in early education is so low that much of the deficit that we see in the later grades are attributed to the gaps that are identified in early childhood education. And the great news in terms of technology, both technology innovation and then just non-technology innovation, but great working in companies, are that there are lots of great innovations happening in early childhood, whether that's in outdoor ed, in the way that childcare is happening, so that's not just a typical daycare, to actually technology that's being targeted to learning at a young age. I have a 2-year-old myself, and have started to really look at a lot of the different technology that's available there. The more the innovation and the impact there, I think that's something that we'll see for dramatic growth across the globe.
Great, and let's get one more audience question in the back.
Yep. My name is Moses. Thank you for the conversation. Really enjoyed your insights there. My question is more specifically on education in third world countries and connectivity, where, from your perspective, do you see many organizations and/or kind of your background with your experience, companies looking at connecting, let's say, internet to these third world countries where maybe the teachers don't have as much experience and/or qualified, let's say, teachers, right? Where they can use internet connectivity as a means of education and learning. Do you see that much as in terms of funding, one, and as well as organizations that are out there trying to combat that?
That's a great question, thank you. So certainly connectivity in developing countries is a great challenge, and without connectivity, children are really missing out on a lot of opportunities that can be brought to them through online learning, whether that's synchronous or asynchronous. I don't know a lot of companies that have been investing in it, but I do know, for certain that there are a number of organizations that are trying to work to address this. I know that Google had an innovation for a little while that was kind of balloons flying over to provide connectivity. I know that project had various challenges, I don't remember exactly, but is one of the several companies that are working through to think about connectivity. And I think that to solve the problem at that level, you probably will need the Googles, the Amazons, the IBMs, the Microsofts, just to really think through the connectivity at that global level in order to bring all the innovations that's happening through the startups, the companies that are developing the technology.
Thanks so much, Nancy. Had a great time chatting with you.
Thanks so much, Tara, and it's always a pleasure to be back here at GSV.
Now I'd like to bring our CEO, Nikhil Sinha, up to announce the winners of the pitch competition.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to GSV Labs again. I'm Nikhil Sinha. I'm the CEO of GSV Labs. I want to take this opportunity before we announce the winners one more time, a round of applause for all of our contestants. And I think a particular round of applause for our 3 judges who I know I was very glad not to be one of them in trying to pick a winner tonight. So thank you, all of you as well. And finally, thank you to Nancy for agreeing to come here and participate in this talk. I think the work that's being done in the fund is amazing. And I think that the ability to support education and education technology through these kinds of initiatives is really important. So once again, thank you to Nancy for joining us here today. And finally, a round of applause for yourselves for being here and sharing your Wednesday evening with us, and for supporting all of these great entrepreneurs who are trying to create the next generation of great companies. Thank you all for being here as well. With that, I would love to invite on stage Dr. Khalid Al-Salah, the Chief Executive Officer of Riyadh Valley Company. RVC is one of the premier education and related sector investors in Saudi Arabia. Those of you who haven't been to Saudi Arabia recently, I have to tell you, it is the hotbed right now of entrepreneurial and startup activity, and we're beginning to see the emergence of a great venture-backed startup ecosystem in Saudi Arabia as well. And so it's a privilege for us to have RVC as one of our investors, and it's a terrific opportunity, I think, for companies who are looking to expand internationally as well as to expand their investor base by bringing in global capital to reach out to the work that's now being done by investors like RVC and others. So thank you very much for joining us today. I will hand this over to you and let you flip the slide that announces the winner of this month's Pioneer Pitch Night competition. That's the green button. Thank you. Yale Nation. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Congratulations again. Yeah. Please join us for reception just around the corner over there. Have a great night. Spend as much time with us as you'd like. And thank you again for coming here, supporting GSV Labs and supporting our startups. Thank you.